I used to take leftover food home for my children, but my manager shocked me with what he did. That night, I thought no one was watching. I had just finished my shift cleaning tables at the restaurant when I saw plates left almost full. Grilled chicken, rice, warm bread. Enough food so my children wouldn't go to bed hungry. It wasn't the first time I had done this. I looked around carefully, then packed the leftovers into containers and slipped them into my bag. I felt a mix of shame and relief. Shame because I had to hide, and relief because my kids would eat something better than dry bread that night. But just as I was about to leave through the back door, a firm voice stopped me. "What do you have there?" My blood froze. It was the manager. He walked closer, his face stern, and before I could explain anything, he took my bag and opened it in front of all the employees still in the kitchen. Silence filled the room. I felt their eyes on me, and the humiliation rising in my face. "Are you stealing food from the restaurant?" he asked seriously. His words felt like knives. I tried to speak, but my voice failed me. I explained that I wasn't stealing, that it was leftovers they were going to throw away, and that my children had barely eaten for 2 days, and I just wanted to bring them something decent. I thought he would fire me on the spot. I thought he would call security. But what he did next left me completely stunned. I expected him to shout. I expected him to order me out immediately, but instead, he calmly closed the bag. Then he looked at me with a strange expression. Not anger, not exactly pity. He said quietly, "Come with me." My legs felt weak, but I followed him in silence. We walked past the staff, all avoiding eye contact, as if I had committed a real crime. We entered his office, and he closed the door behind us. He stayed silent for a few long seconds. Then he sat down and gestured for me to sit. I didn't dare. "Sit," he repeated more gently. I sat, trembling. He opened a drawer, took out a small notebook, flipped through it, then looked up and asked, "How long have you been doing this?" I swallowed hard. "For a few weeks." "Why didn't you ask for help?" I let out a bitter laugh mixed with tears. "Help? From who? We can barely keep this job. Who would care?" He went silent again, then suddenly stood up. I expected the worst, but he walked out without a word. I sat alone, tears streaming down my face, preparing myself to tell my children I had lost my job. 1 minute, 2, 5. Then the door opened. He wasn't alone. He came in with the head chef, carrying a large box. They placed it in front of me. He opened it. It was full of food, not leftovers, but fresh, complete meals, neatly packed. I stared in shock. He said calmly, "This isn't stealing, but the way you did it was wrong." I couldn't speak. He continued, "From today on, you won't take leftovers in secret. We will prepare food for you every day at the end of your shift." I thought I misheard him, and I held my breath. "We'll increase your working hours. There's a department that needs help, and if you prove yourself, we may raise your salary too." I broke down in tears, but the story didn't end there. The next day, when I arrived at work, I noticed something strange. There was a small wooden box near the entrance labeled, "For those in need." Inside, there was food. I asked a coworker, "What is this?" She smiled and said, "The manager put it there this morning." I started to understand, but the real surprise came a week later. He called me into his office again. This time I wasn't scared, just nervous. He said, "Would you mind telling me your full story?" I hesitated, but I told him everything. About my children, my husband who left us, the rent, the nights we slept without dinner. He listened, without interrupting. Then he said, "I want to try something." A few days later, a small filming crew came to the restaurant. I thought they were shooting an advertisement. But later, I found out the truth. They were filming a human interest story about struggling employees. I wasn't comfortable at first, but he reassured me. "Your story might help others." The video was published, and within days, everything changed. People started donating. Other restaurants began copying the "For Those in Need" box. One viewer offered to help me find cheaper housing. Another offered to pay for my children's school for a whole year. But the biggest surprise was when a well-dressed man came to the restaurant asking for me. He said, "I saw your story, and I want to offer you a better job." I couldn't believe it, but my manager smiled and said, "I told you, the method was wrong." but your heart wasn't. Months later, I no longer sneak leftovers. I no longer fear the end of each day. And my children, they never went to bed hungry again. But I still remember that moment, when he stopped me at the door, because it was the moment I thought everything had ended, when in reality, it was only the beginning.